What's, what's going on, everyone? This is Daryl Andrews, Coach D, the Workforce Development Motivator, and coming to you with some pretty interesting information. I think if you kind of hear out what I'm going to say in this real brief live broadcast, I have a training that's coming up in about 20 minutes, but I want to see if I can squeeze this in. And a lot of times, as a consultant and as a trainer and as a motivator, I get calls from my customers saying that I need to inspire my staff, or I need to inspire my teachers, or I need to motivate my employees, from a corporation, and I get a lot of them. I've been doing this stuff, been doing this work 20 years. So when you've been doing it as long as I've been doing, you've been on lots of stages, you've been in front of a lot of people, and literally millions if you start to add up the numbers. But one thing I always try to tell my customers is this, and it's the statement that you saw in the beginning when you noticed the tagline, and that is that we are motivated, all right, to do what we value. And this is really important. And matter of fact, it's the thing that drove me into the consultant side of my business, because a lot of times people are looking for a quick fix to an internal problem. You know what I mean? Like whenever I'm invited to do a speech, I'll tell my customers, I don't know what other speakers do, but I've been doing this 20 years. So for me, it's not just getting a speech. I've done plenty of those. I don't need another speech to boost my ego, because I've been on thousands and thousands of stages. What I want to see is outcomes. I want to see that customer, man, say 5 months from now, man, my team is working in harmony. We don't have as much tension as we used to do, all of those different things. So just from some general perspective, that starts with leadership valuing their employees. I'm just going to be real with you. It starts with leadership valuing their employees, because if you value your employees, you'll be motivated to provide them with the tools that are necessary for them to achieve the outcomes you desire for them to achieve. And so that's just one place to start. It's always interesting. A lot of times I'll get invited in to do programs and speaking and training, and a lot of times it's like, we're going to get these folks fired up and it's going to fix them. And I'm saying, well, that's the speaker down the road. I'm not that person. I will inspire them. I will motivate them. But the fix is process. Hear what I'm saying? This is important. The fix is process, because we got to get people to value the thing we're trying to get them to do in order to produce a particular outcome. If they don't value their jobs, they're not going to be motivated to do their jobs. Let's be clear on that. Hey, Eva, how you doing? Good to see you. All right. Listen, if they're not valuing their work assignment, they're not going to be motivated to do it. If I don't value leadership, I'm not going to be motivated to study, to research. My good friend Pierre Campbell says it all the time. My response is my responsibility. Check him out at pierrecamp.com. He's on LinkedIn too, Pierre Campbell. Look him up, because he's nailed it with that. The reality of the matter is simply this. People have to value things. Now, before motivation becomes a priority within it. Okay? And so I'm saying this because, again, in my world, we're constantly looking at motivation and inspiration. But what's really been nice over the last decade or so, we've been able to get in as a consultant to really dig deeper into why organizations run the way that they run, and how do we create systems and infrastructure that produce motivational outcomes. Now, I'm a consultant, I'm an expert, so I can be real clear with you. That means that sometimes people will stay because they're with it, and sometimes that means that people just have to go. That's always hard to tell somebody, like, this person is a cancer. They don't value the work, they don't value people, they don't value their teammates, they value themselves. And in that case, that person is not a good fit for any company or organization, because work, or school district, or teacher, or whatever, because work is always about synergy. It is like everyone plays a significant role in the outcomes that we desire. So, but if a person doesn't value that role, they're not going to help us move forward, no matter, And so let me clarify a few things, because I don't want to make it seem like we just get rid of people. Some people You know, uh, Miss this, I put in thousands to work. I put thousands, but I know good idea. Okay, yeah, that's good. Thank you, Miss Banner. Thank you. Uh, don't know how I got your notifications. We're probably connected on LinkedIn. And so the thing we have to think about, and you think about this statement, we are motivated to do what we value. How do we get our people to value their work? I can pause if I was in a training. How do we get them to value it? Now, some people will do things like, you know, bonuses, you know, if you're in sales or marketing or any position, bonuses. And that works for some people. I mean, it works for a lot of people because people like money. I like money. I mean, we all like money. I don't love money, but I like it. All right. But the thing is, for some people, it's not just that. For some people, they value relationships. For some people, they value mentoring. You know what I mean? For some people, they value the process that they're going through that's going to make them a better person. Now, everybody wants to get paid. You're going to always, you know, have some success to some extent there. But you got to realize you got people making hundreds of thousands of dollars and are miserable as the day is long. they dread going into work. They dread interacting, you know? Yes, yeah. You know, so yeah, absolutely. Yeah, John Maxwell talks about this stuff. I didn't read his book. This is the work I've done. You know, I agree with you, Kelly. But this is my observation from being in these organizations, you know, as a consultant and a motivator, working with so many people. I remember one time I did some work with this one organization, and good group of people. We flew to a town and we brought all their leadership, you know, vice presidents, operations people, marketing people, and all that. And we were doing a 2-day training on team building, core values, things of that nature. And so this company had grown significantly. They made a lot of money. They were financially very, very solid. But they were having challenges internally as far as the way that they interacted between departments and communicating with one another and all of that. And so I said, what's going on here? Because when people invite me in, I have my discernment cap on, and I'm trying to discern the dynamics of relationships. So if you ever contract me to come in and work with you, I'm not just there to speak. I want to get a feel for the players, in particular in leadership. Like, what are the dynamics of this leadership team? And how are they interacting with each other? Let's not even talk about the employees, the team. How are they interacting with each other? Do they have acrimony with each other? Do they argue and fight? Can they not communicate with one another? Because that's going to tell me in a heartbeat the culture of the organization. So with this organization, we came together. We spent 2 days. We spent a full day on core values. We spent a full day on team building. And they walked away with a pretty significant plan. It was a retreat. But one thing I noticed is that the senior leader of that organization, which is a great guy, real good person, every time he would speak, he would stand up and peer out over everyone. It was almost like he was sort of intimidating them without knowing he was intimidating them. And so I noticed that going on and on and on. And so I didn't want to disrespect him in front of his team. So when we were doing one of the lunch breaks, I walked up to him and said, hey, man, I just want to talk to you about something. He said, what is it? I said, he said, what is it? I said, I noticed that every time you too, Kelly, every time you interact with your team, you stand up and you gaze out over them, almost like you're kind of sending a message to them, you know, with your eyes. And you know what he said to me was really interesting. He said, really? He'd been doing it so long, he didn't even notice that dynamic. And I shared with him, one thing you got to realize, the most valuable asset of any company are the people that work for them. It's not the money. The money is a byproduct of the people. The most valuable asset you have is your human capital, the people. And so if you value them, you're going to want their input. You're going to want their good, their bad, because sometimes they'll say things you don't agree with. But the reality is you still learn from it. You like the fact that they take the initiative to care enough about the company, or care enough about the school or school district, or care enough about the college or university or wherever you work with, to be able to give you some input on how to make it better. That's not a disrespect of authority. I care about this job. I care about this organization. I care about my customers. I want leaders that can give me feedback, give me thoughts, insights. But if I don't value them, what happens is I get offended because they're telling me things that can improve us. Or if the manager stretches you or the leader stretches you and you get offended because the person is trying to bring the best out of you. Now, I'm not talking about abusive stuff. I'm talking about just stretching. Then what happens is we have a tendency to, get offended at that person. Who do they think they are? Why are they trying to get? And you don't realize they're just trying to make you better. Think about this. What if a track athlete said to the coach, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do? You know what I mean? What if a quarterback on the football team says, Coach, I don't want to do that play? Now, they may say that in the heat of the battle that maybe we should try another play besides that one because I think we can do it, but they're not dissing the coach. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I don't know. John Maxwell keeps popping up and I don't know where John is coming. This is none of John Maxwell. This is all me. I appreciate John, but that's not what I'm not sharing his message. I never really even heard him speak. I don't think I have. I read a couple of his books, but this is just my practical experience working with organizations and schools and school districts and corporations and colleges, what I've seen. So I guess John and I are on the same page. I know I don't get paid like John does, but but very much on the same page. You know what I mean? And so this is really important. And what you're saying, Vest, is right on point, my friend. I know we don't know each other, but your insight is solid. Your employees work hard for you each day. I'm going to read what he says. There are countless pressures, both at work and home, that they get by way of delivering their best. Daunting responsibility, challenging relationships, anxiety about debt. This list goes on. You can boost the emotional wellness of your employees and enhance your company's culture with the click of a button. Thanks to Anticipate Joy. Anticipate Joy offers easy access to counseling, the therapist, and things like that. So obviously that's something that he's a part of. But the reality of the matter is simply this. The reality of the matter is what he's saying in the beginning of this is you got to value your employees. Now, listen, your employees need to value leadership too. It's a two-way street. Back to the message. We are motivated to do what we value. Do you have good relationships? Or do you value your customers? Do you treat them any old way? You know what I mean? Or do you treat them like, man, when you walk in here or when we do service with you, you're the most important person on the planet. That's when your customers will keep coming back and tell everybody about you. Everybody. Because the reality of the matter is simply this. The reality of the matter is you are motivated to do what you value. I'm about to train in 10 minutes. I'm going to have to get ready to wrap this up. Train about 50 people on organizational team building, a state agency. And my hope with that training is that they're going to value team synergy. All right. They're going to value core values because the reality of it is I can train them, but the only way that's going to succeed is through implementation. And an implementation is going to be a byproduct of what I value. And if I don't value my fellow teammates, I don't want to do it, which means you need training, but you also need consulting. And we do help with that. You can, if you're interested in having a conversation, take a look at our link and email me and we can set up a little strategy session because listen, if you're going to spend the majority of your life in a location, be it a school district, business organization, workforce development group, whatever, man, I'm telling you, especially as my friend here, Vest, is saying today with all the challenges and the concerns and the doubts, the reality of the matter is you got to build team synergy. You got to help the team value what we have to do in the midst of all of this stuff that's going on. So that even if I'm working from home and my kids are making noise and the dog is barking, because that's happened to me too. I got a big old dog. I'm trying to always stop him from barking. The reality of the matter is you still have to, do what you do with enthusiasm because you got people that's dependent on you. One last thing I want to share is recently I've been invited, me and a few of my, I mentioned Pierre Campbell. He's starting to get a lot of these calls too. And I've been getting them from various organizations. And is this whole thing of equity? And diversity. And this is what I tell people, and this is legitimate truth. And there's some folks that just say anything because give me a training opportunity, I'll say it. To me, keep in mind, we're not about that. We're about trying to get to real world solutions. And here's the thing. You can't make a person value equity. They have to want to value it inside their hearts. Equity, diversity, and inclusion and all that is not a head issue. It's a heart issue. Listen to what I'm saying. Because there's a lot of people out here saying we want to do this, and I'm training, man. We're working with folks, but we consulting. Because what we got to find out is, are those people that's on the team, do they value this? Because if they don't value it, what happens is you end up you go a year, you do well, and 2 years later, back to the same old thing. So it's about creating cultures with a multitude of people who value what the organization or company values. That's why HR is so important. Who are you hiring? Because the reality of the matter is, there's nothing worse than people coming in that don't value what you value in the company. And then all of a sudden it starts creating acrimony and attitude and chaos. But it goes back to what we said earlier too. Keep in mind, we got to talk about the source of this. Are we valuing the people? Are we showing them that we care? We're not talking about people that have an attitude because of the culture of the organization that's really yucky. That's a different thing. They may value some of these things, but it's so not so good there that they don't show value for it. So that's a whole nother thing, man. I can't do this in 15 minutes. This takes too much time. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. If you have any challenges, reach out to me. I'm willing to give some brainstorming sessions. I've been doing this stuff with thousands of organizations all over the country. You know, me and my small team. We sit down, we'll talk with you, we'll look at what your challenge is. Even if you don't contract us, 15, 20 minutes, we can give you some advice. So reach out to us for that, because I love this work. You know what I mean? And virtual has kept me off airplanes. So I'm just going from training to training to training. But there's time in between where I could take 15, 20 minutes to interact with people who may be interested. So inbox us on the message. If you understand that we need to start thinking about helping people value certain things and certain outcomes. And once they start to value it, watch your organization change. Once you listen, do you value your children? A lot of people complaining now because they're home with their kids. Man, I've been home with my kids for 5 months now, 6 months. Guess what? My love for them has increased, because you know what? I value them. I don't look for them with their perfection. They're my children, they're my babies. I love them. And so when you say you value something, you're willing to do whatever it takes to show them that you value that. And I actually believe our relationship is getting stronger, not weaker. So think about what you value, because what you value, that's what you're motivated to do. That's where you put energy into. If you value health, you'll work out every day. You'll look at your diet and exercise. If you don't, you eat whatever you want. And who cares about the gym? I got to go because I got some people waiting for me. Make sure you really analyze what you value. In organizations, you can train around this stuff. Reach out to us if we can be of help. Take care.